Hi, Supervisor Vasquez, welcome.
Everyone, thank you. I just want to let everybody know I'll be in for a little while and then I'll have to step out at 6. I have another meeting to go to, but when that meeting concludes, I'll come to the tail end of this meeting. So I really look forward to another good meeting. Thank you.
So Melissa, do you want us there at 4 o'clock to help set up?
We can talk about that, perhaps if that's possible, or at least, before 6. So we'll talk about that later.
Jim, we're going to put you in charge of decorations, so.
Pink and purple. That's okay. I don't mind.
I didn't know that was on the program list to do decorations.
That was part of what we did when we did weddings.
Oh, I'm sure for weddings.
I think the same decorations that you'd have at a wedding would be perfect for a Donny Park open house.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Guess that means all of us on the committee will have to be in formal attire.
Tuxedos.
We now have a quorum.
West,
Welcome, Brian.
just Western wear, Rob.
Okay. I'm better prepared that way than otherwise.
Or informal like they do nowadays, t-shirts, jeans, and tennis shoes.
What's going on?
Yeah, that's Flagstaff business, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Hi,
We got you,
Brian.
Brian.
Yes, that's me. Sorry, folks. I've been working on my property and thought I left early enough.
You did. It's 5 o'clock and you're here, so perfect.
Thank you.
Not 1 minute wasted.
Rob, remind me who's chairing the meeting.
I think I have the honors this evening.
Okay, I'm happy about that. I'll be right back.
I guess we'll wait for Brian to come back so we restore our quorum and then we'll get started.
And Sailor just joined.
Oh, did you? Welcome,
Emily?
Sailor.
Hello. Oops, hold on a minute. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. The Zoom, they must have updated something because it looks completely different tonight. And just a reminder, my pronouns are they, them, theirs. Thank you.
Thank you. And they did just update Zoom.
I tried to update it, but I can't remember my password, so now it won't let me. Anybody know my password?
No.
Anybody looking for some iris bulbs? I just separated mine after 10 years and I've got a lot more than I need. So if anybody wants some purple iris, I have a bunch.
Oh, that sounds nice. We might be able to meet up next week. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh,
Yep. We'll finally have an opportunity to meet in person again. Hello, Doug.
Hello.
We'll be getting started here in just 1 second once Brian gets back. Hello, Bernice.
hi,
Welcome.
everybody.
Well, we had Brian for a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and call him here. I bet he can hear us. So I would like to go ahead and get started with our meeting today, the 9th of September for the Donny Park Timberline Fernwood Area Plan Committee. We have a quorum. Jessica, do you need folks to call off for attendance or anything, or should we get started with our?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay.
You
So a
wanna do
couple of quick
introductions?
instructions there. Go, yeah, there.
Sorry.
Go back there for just a second. Anybody having difficulty connecting obviously won't see this, so we'll skip that part. But it is important that if you're not actually participating in the conversation, that you mute your microphone so that things you don't want us to hear or noises that help or prevent us from hearing others aren't transmitted through. So if you're not actually speaking, we'd appreciate it if you'd mute your microphones. So this is our title slide here. We'll go from that to, I believe we start with introductions, right, Melissa? There we go. I'd like to welcome everybody here to the meeting. My name is Rob Wilson. I co-chair this committee along with Brian Bates. I live here in Timberline for the last, how long, 13 years, and have really enjoyed the opportunity to be on this committee, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to have our open house coming up here later this month. I'm going to call off our committee members so we can do a quick introduction in the sequence that I see them. Dave, you're next.
All right. Yeah, we moved here from Seattle area in about 2006 and really enjoying it. And we're both retired, my wife and I. And so we've been pretty busy. My wife's very busy with a 501c3 cat sanctuary, and I've been very busy with committees and commissions.
Excellent. John, how about yourself?
Okay, been here in Timberline now since, well, I actually owned the property since 2004. Been in Arizona for a little over 50 years. Served on the Planning and Zoning Commission for District 2 for, well, about 10 and a half, going on 11 now. That's enough.
Thank you. Brian, you're back.
I am back. Thank you, Rob. This is Brian Bates. I've been trotting around these regions for about 40 years. I bought the property, I think, in 1977. And this is home. And I appreciate all the work that everyone on the committee, as well as the community members, appreciate their comments also. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Bernice, how about yourself?
I'm Bernice Carver. I've been in Flagstaff since about 1977, and I've been real active in the community. I lived most of that time, about 42 years in Donny Park, and in different areas of Donny Park, like Mountain View Ranchos and Cosnino and Sunset Crater Estates, and been very active in the community and city issues. I helped write the tobacco-free school district policy. I helped write the smoke-free workplace ordinances for Flagstaff, Coconino County, and Smoke-Free Arizona. I really like working on policy that protects the environment and protects people also. And I'm really concerned that we need to have a really strong policy that is enforceable and a really strong plan. We've all seen what's happening in other areas, especially west of us over in, oh gosh, I just lost my thought. But anyway, I'm really hopeful that we can keep this plan strong. It does need to be, we need to go back and we need to look at some things that aren't in line with what the survey is concerned about. But hopefully we can do it. Thanks.
Thank you, Bernice. Sailor, are you there? There we go.
Hello, here I am back again. My name is Sailor. I've lived in Flagstaff for 17 years, and I guess 14 of it has been out here with the part of it on the other side of 89 and Timberline and half over here in Donny Park. Also, I just want to say that I think Bernice might be running for county supervisor next time around. Just want to throw that out there.
All righty. Interesting news. Thank you, Sailor.
No, I'm encouraging. I'm like, Bernice, like she has a way of talking, and I'm just saying, go Bernice.
All right. Jim Clifford, how about yourself?
Jim Clifford, District 4 Planning and Zoning Commissioner, worked for W.L. Gore as an HVAC associate, been in Donny Park since 1986.
Excellent. Thank you. Evelyn. Are you there?
Here I am. There I am. Okay, I'm Evelyn Wani. I've lived in Timberline for 11 years now. I don't know about me. I just come to these because it's very interesting and I like to know what's going on. So,
And you add so much value. That's like all the members here do. So appreciate that.
thank you.
And it looks like that is the extent of our committee members. Supervisor Vasquez might have just stepped out, or I would have introduced him.
Did you, Brian, already?
Sorry, my
yeah, you
camera
did.
fell.
Okay.
Oh, there's Supervisor Vasquez. Sir.
Yeah, sorry. Hold on one moment. Let me see if I got it fixed. I knocked over my camera. So it fell on the ground. So when you were asking for me and I tried to unmute, it was black because it was staring at the floor. So I apologize for that. How you doing, everyone? My name is Jeronimo Vasquez, Supervisor District 2. I was appointed in February and it's September. Can't believe it's been 7 months already. I've had the pleasure of coming along the ride for this area plan and really excited to see the progress that's been made and how close it is to getting that public comment that we all want so bad. So keep up the good work. We're almost there. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And thank you, all of you, for your participation and your efforts to make this the best plan that we can make under the circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. And I think that completes the introductions of folks that are here. There's rumor that one of our planning and zoning commissioners, Sat Best, may be joining us a little bit later. So if he joins us, everyone will know where he is or who he is. I don't believe we had any specific updates, correct, Melissa?
Sorry, I was muted. Nothing additional other than what you've already covered.
Okay, excellent. Then we would like to open the floor to public comment. So any members of the public here that are not part of the committee that would like to share thoughts with us before we get started today, we would appreciate hearing those. We would like to ask you to limit those comments to 3 minutes so that we're fair to everyone and everyone has the same amount of time. Is there anyone here that would like to share some thoughts with us now? If so, you can, Doug's waving his hand first. So unmute yourself, please, Doug, and do share.
Okay, I just want to kind of touch on what I've said before, but more precisely. The main survey question that addresses the issue that I'm trying to get at is the one concerning Forest Service land trades. And unfortunately, that question did not include state trust land. That's my concern. Clearly, the survey respondents said, no, we don't want to see any land exchanges. And with the understanding that those land exchanges would result in residential proposals to develop even at what we have now, which is AR 2.5, AR 5, single family residential. But I believe that that's what the interpretation of that question is. We don't want to see more of the same either, because in those cases, we're talking about large, really large developments. And state trust land just has not been touched here. It's just not mentioned. And that is the reason I realize, I totally understand. We cannot prevent state trust land from accepting a proposal like that, basically to state trusts to basically do what they want to do with the land. It's the developer that we need to be targeting with this plan and not encouraging those developers. I believe land use policies 2 with subsection A and B are basically a carrot, an encouragement to developers to do a large proposal. And while we cannot prevent it, we don't have to leave an open invitation to that. And that's what I believe LU2 A and B do. They basically say, we as a community will in fact entertain your proposal. If you can provide certain benefits, sure, we'll look at it. I don't think that's what the community says. I think the community is not willing to entertain those kinds of developments. So I'm saying LU2 A and B don't fit with the survey. And I'm not suggesting you add more language. I'm suggesting you take language out, and that just take out LU2A and B. And that's it. That's all I got.
Thank you, Doug, and I hope that we'll be able to see you at the open house. And we're going to have several different ways to be able to formally comment at that. So those things that you would like to see removed would be excellent inputs to include as part of that open house process.
Okay, thanks.
Any other members of the general public that would like to share some thoughts with us here? You can go ahead and unmute and introduce yourself. Somehow or another, we have two Russell Weedmans. That's impressive.
Yes, this is Russell Weedman. I'm a 41-year resident of the Donny Park Timberline area. And I had a question kind of following along with what we just heard. And I was wondering if somebody'd be able to explain to me now, again, I couldn't remember exactly what it was, why the words shall and must couldn't be used in the plan, and why should had to be used. Would somebody be able to use part of my comment time and answer that question?
I will briefly attack that and hope that Supervisor Vasquez, being in attendance, can back me up on this, but basically is at the direction of the County Board of Supervisors. Our area plan is a plan. It is not an enforceable document, and therefore it can't have shall and must incorporated in it. The supervisors will be the final approval authority, and they would change those if we did include them anyway. So we're complying with the direction that we have received from the county supervisors through Director Krisselman's letter to comply with the way that we're writing this document. Does that help?
Yes, it helps. I'm not sure I agree with that exactly. I mean, when you go back and look at questions on the survey, like doing land exchanges with Forest Service land or expanding our rural activity centers, overwhelmingly, over 90% of the community members said that no to that. They did not want that. And when over 90% of the people that responded to the survey said no, that sounds like shall or must to me, not should. They're not saying, well, you shouldn't do that. They're saying it shall not be done. That's what I was saying when I answered those questions.
Rob, if I could also elaborate on that for a second. So just wanted to mention to everybody too that the county's authority for developing this plan and the comprehensive plan and by extension then the area plans clearly point out, and if you want to look on the statute yourself, it's Title 11, Article 804, and that specifically talks about how comprehensive plans are guiding documents. They're not an ordinance, and that's a very important distinction. We don't need to get into that a lot right now. I can certainly provide that reference, but it's pretty clearly outlined in the statute. And that's where we get our authority. So just to kind of remind everybody of that. Thank you.
Yes, I understand that. I kind of remembered that from before, but you would think you would be able to use those words and say that according to what the community wants, what they responded to in the survey, they were responding with the word shall not. That's what people were doing. There was no should or maybe, well, you know, and this document, it's not for eternity. It's for what, 10 or 20 years. So, you know, being able to use a word like that is, in my opinion, you know, it's perfectly okay. And it should be.
All right.
And one other thing, and if you do say something like that, you know, if that is put in there, it should be according to the community residents. What they wanted was, you know, rural activity centers shall not be expanded. That's what the
Mr.
community.
Weedman, I think we've exceeded our 3 minutes here, and out of fairness to all, I'd like to wrap that up if you could.
Yeah, okay, I'll leave it right there, but I did have something else to say too on the public comment period at the end and at the beginning, but perhaps I'll do that later on in the middle, at the end of the meeting. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Any other members of the general public here that would like to share some comments before we get started? I am not seeing anyone saying yes. So Melissa, let's move on with our next slide here. Which is a, no, somehow.
Excuse me, Rob, this is Brian Bates.
Sure.
I just read a comment from Mr. Crystalman. I believe it's Jay Crystalman.
It is.
And he is making a clarification that I think is important. He is saying that the area plan would not be used if there was a Forest Service land swap, only if there was a zone change. And so this plan would not apply in the case of a land swap, as I'm reading his comment. And I think that's an important point to be clear on. Thank you.
What is state land zone now?
We're getting off the agenda here, and we need to follow public meeting laws. So Bernice, that's a great question that we can address in a future meeting, or the maps that are available on our website have all that zoning clearly identified.
I think it's identified as state land.
Some land is zoned, some is not. It varies parcel to parcel. So you would have to look at the map and find out.
Right, and we can clarify that. Some of the Forest Service land is zoned, other Forest Service land is not, and I don't believe the state land is zoned, but I'll have to double check on that, Bernice.
Right, I don't think it is. It would have to have a zone change. So this would apply in a zone change for state land.
Okay.
Any zone change, it would apply to any zone change, correct?
All right, moving on to our next agenda topic here, a review of the meeting notes from July 15th, August 12th, and August 19th. All the members of the committee received those via email. And I believe, Bernice, you had a comment on the meeting notes from, was it the 12th? Let me double check here.
July 15th.
July 15th meeting, right. And if you would like to share your thoughts on that with us here, Bernice?
Well, I typed what I felt was relevant, and you all got a copy of it. And I guess if I can find it, I can
read it for you if you would like.
Yeah, please do. That would be fine.
It says, regarding the open house, I said, I would like to postpone the public meeting to go over the policies again, to include all the comments and to be in line with the majority of the people who answered the survey. I also would like to be able to ask questions of people who made comments. I also don't think 3 minutes is enough time for people to comment.
Yes, thank you.
That was what you would like to see added to the minutes from the July 15th meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. Unless there's any members of the committee that would oppose that, I would like to propose that we adopt her comments as included in the email that we have all seen in the July 15th meeting. All in favor, if we could say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, please.
Aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Looks like we have a majority of that. So any opposed to that idea? All right. Then we have our ever so studious note taker will be able to take care of that, right, Jessica?
Yep, I will change it.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our next topic.
Rob, do you want to make sure that the August 12th and August 19th meeting notes are acceptable?
Okay, yeah, having received no comments on the other two meeting notes, and I'm assuming that everyone is happy with those, and I would like to propose we accept those as they were presented. Bernice.
I have a concern about the August 19th meeting notes. I wasn't there. but I did listen to the public comments on the recorded session after I came back. I'm really concerned about the comment by Teresa Alfred, who didn't want multi-unit housing. And is there anything in the plan that could potentially allow it in Donny Park? And the response is that the committee is clear on the fact that the residents of Donny Park, Timberline, Fernwood don't want denser housing or multi-unit or multifamily, and the draft plan reflects this. But I'm concerned the policies don't reflect it because it allows multi-unit housing in the rural activity centers where the commercial is. It says, and I'm also concerned about Russell Weedman was also concerned about the multifamily developments appearing in the Donny Park, Timberline, Fernwood. And the survey shows there was somewhere that Melissa had talked about the limitations of the septic tanks. And that really concerns me because I don't think we are as limited, because I pulled off the website today from the environmental quality for Coconino County, that Coconino County has delegation for all the conventional septic systems and some alternative on-site wastewater systems up to a capacity of 24,000 gallons per day. And larger systems that are in Flagstaff, Williams, Page, Kachina Village, which is also in the county, and Pinewood, which is also in the county, are regulated by ADEQ. So they could have larger systems that are in excess of 24,000 gallons per day that they can process. And I don't think that limits multi-unit housing or any other kind of commercial or industrial development or residential.
Bernice, I hear what you're saying, but what we're trying to do now is review the minutes and recognize whether they accurately reflect what occurred in the meeting. Do you have any input with respect to that?
Well, I definitely do, because I feel like we're misleading the public in saying that we're limited by septic tanks and that this area plan is concerned with keeping multi-unit housing out, when clearly land use number 6 provides for multi-unit housing.
Okay, so what is incorrect in the minutes from the August 19th meeting? What didn't actually occur?
It wasn't the answer to the question that the person was asking.
Okay,
and I feel like we need to address that.
Okay, and that's something that we can do in a future meeting, but that's not something we can change in the past minutes. The minutes, in my understanding, are you're agreeing that the minutes accurately reflect what occurred at the meeting. Is that correct?
Well, I think it's what was said, but I feel like what was said was incorrect on both counts.
Okay. That isn't part of what we're trying to accomplish with this specific vote we're talking about here. And it's certainly something that we can discuss further at a future point here. But right now, what we're trying to say is, did the minutes that have been submitted to all of us accurately reflect what occurred at that meeting? Do you have any changes that you believe need to be made with respect to what happened?
I think we need to clarify that multi-unit housing is allowable in this plan as we have it now.
Okay, and that's something we can do at a future time, but what you're talking about what happened historically here. Are you happy with what happened, that we accurately captured what actually happened?
I feel uncomfortable that people read this and believe it.
I wonder if perhaps you could answer my question. Are you happy that we actually captured what actually occurred?
Okay, I acknowledge I'm not happy about it. I acknowledge it. That's probably what was said.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernice. I appreciate that. Hearing that, I would ask if anyone else objects to anything from the July 15th and August, or I'm sorry, the August 12th and August 19th meetings. Welcome, Liz.
Hey, hello. Sorry, late. Internet problems.
No problem. Hearing no objections to that, I would move that we accept those as have they've been provided to us in email. And I would like to ask the committee members in favor of that to say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
May I step in real quick? I just came in. So what was the question?
We were approving the meeting minutes from the 15th, July 15th, August 12th, and August 19th meetings.
Oh, okay. I was at both of those meetings, so, and I've had internet problems, so I didn't get to read them, but okay. Hi. Thank you.
If you'd like, we can mark you as an abstain.
Okay. Well, it's okay. I was at those meetings, but I'm sure that if everyone agreed, then the notes were proper, I guess.
All right. Melissa, moving on then. So our primary objective this evening is to be prepared for our upcoming open house. As Melissa mentioned earlier, the postcards have been mailed. Some folks have already received those. We're well on our way to displaying all of our hard work from the last year and a half or approaching 2 years to all of our neighbors and friends and asking for their input on that. So what we want to do this evening is talk about how that has been done in the past and how we're planning to do it here, and make sure that everyone here on the committee is on board with that process. So Melissa had mentioned that the cards have been mailed. There's also approximately 500 additional hard copies of the postcard available. We'll be able to distribute some of those to members of the community or members of the committee if they would like to distribute them amongst friends, family, neighbors, whatever. The postcard is also available in a PDF format so that we can email it to people. And it is also both on the county website in their general information section and on our page on the county website. So we're hoping that the notification of this meeting is going to produce the kinds of results that we need to get our neighbors out there and get their input. I know some of us have been more active on some of the social media pages than others. I think it's our intention that we also include this on some Facebook and Nextdoor pages so that we get a bit additional visibility there. And we're open to suggestions from anyone that may have on where else we could get this information out. Any thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Liz.
Oh, I was just going to say, is it going to PO boxes, Melissa?
It was sent
So
to-
yes, it's going to over 5,000 addresses. So what we did, we had our GIS office take a look, and they pulled all the addresses off for both Citus, which is the physical address, and the mailing address. And where there were duplicates, they were removed, but they are going to every physical address and every mailing address, which would include a post office box if somebody
Okay.
uses a post office box as their main mailing address. So yes, we're doing the best we can in terms of covering. So
Okay.
like I said, it's going
Yes.
out to over 5,000, like
So,
5,100.
okay, so the question is, the answer is yes, it's going to post boxes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. My other question is it going,
Oh, you muted yourself right in the middle of the question.
is it going to the tenants that live in the house or the landowner of the parcel? Like if I was a landlord and I was renting it, wouldn't I should be informed too? Because
It's going to both.
oh, good. Okay, so it is going to. Oh, great. Thank you. I didn't hear that part. Did you say that?
Yes. So that's the.
Okay,
physical
so the
address.
answer is
If they
yes.
get-
I don't need any more. Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah, if they get mail
Got
at
it.
their physical address, they will get mail there.
No, but not the owner of the house, just the person who's
Right. I
renting.
mean, if somebody's living there and there's mail delivery to that physical location, they'll get it.
Yeah, but that's not parcel owner. Like I have a rental. I have some rentals out here and I live here, but I get it. But people, let's say I lived in Phoenix or I live in town and I have rentals out here, I wouldn't know this meeting's going on, correct? Because it's going to the person that's living there, but not the parcel owner.
No, I said that you'll get both. We
Oh.
send it to both.
Okay. Okay. I thought you said if you live there, you'd get both. Okay.
You will get it if you live there. If you own the parcel, but you don't live there and you've got a mailing address that's somewhere else, you'll get it.
Okay. Thank you.
And that was at our committee's request that they did that extra step to do it, make sure everyone got notified that way. So the question was, are there any other suggestions on ways that we should be reaching out to make sure people are aware of this upcoming event? Any other
I
thoughts?
have an idea.
Sure.
Garage sales are huge in this area. The signs are the ones that direct people to them. Could the county make some kind of a garage sale sign and put it like at the corner of Copeland and 89 and put it on the fire station marquee?
Bernice, let's think
put it
big
where
and
the stop signs are.
yeah, let's think big and go with the big county signboard that they have with the message board. Why don't we use that?
You know, that sounds good. We have Public Works puts huge signs up every time they do something on the road. Maybe we can use their sign and plaster it over with a printed up version of Donny Park Timberline Fernwood Area Plan Open House. But I like the idea when somebody stopped at a stop sign like Coke Field and Silver Saddle or something like that, they could see something and be notified.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
I have a
particular?
comment on that. That would not meet our sign code, so I would have think that may not be the best strategy. Where we can certainly ask the school and the fire department to put it on the marquee, and ask Public Works to put out their electronic signboard.
Oh, that is good at Cromer School because they do announce a lot at Cromer School, but that only touches the people that drive past Cromer. But
What about Donny Park Water Company putting it on their billing? So when you go online to pay your bill or you get your bill, you see they have the capability of putting a message on it.
I don't know what their schedule is. Bernice, do you want to contact them for us?
Oh, yeah, I will.
The other thing that we're going to do is leave some postcards
Bernice.
at fire stations and at other places of business that are frequented by folks out here in Donny Park. So hopefully they'll see that also. Jim, you had something to say?
Yeah, Donny Park water bills for this month have already gone out. So for them to put it on their water bill would go out next month, and the meeting will already be over.
Okay.
Well, we could consider that for future ones, though. I know the last area plan had several open houses for each subcommittee. And this is our only one that we're having for the whole all the subcommittees. It'd be nice to have an individual open house for each plan, transportation, land use, Forest Service, all that stuff.
Brian?
Bernice, I'm not sure how practical that is. I would share that we have two, this one, and then there is another one I think that we were planning on doing further down the road, if memory is correct.
That's what I recall also, Brian.
Thank you. Melissa, I have a question for you. Do we have some system set up whereby members of the committee could pick up, say, 40 of these postcards and say, hey, I'm going to take these to Mountain View Market, or I'm going to take these to the Silver Saddle Market?
Yes, that's what I'm hoping can happen on Tuesday. We are going to be meeting at the school to get to look at this facility and to plan the layout. So I'm hoping that committee members who want to meet there and look at it with us, at that time, you can also pick up the postcards. I'll get them from the printer and have those ready. So if anybody wants them, that would be great.
Can you give us more information about the meeting at the school?
Oh, that's coming up, Brian.
That's coming up, but just to,
Thank you.
we'll talk about that.
Yep. All right. I did see a text message about perhaps, or a chat, I'm sorry, about perhaps asking some of the local radio stations on public service announcements if they couldn't incorporate something like that. That's probably a great idea. Also, I've got some contacts in radio, and I will take that on to check and see if we can sneak in some PSAs on that subject. So thank you for that recommendation. Any other thoughts? Evelyn's optimistic. All right, let's move on to our next slide there, if we could, please. So as Melissa just Melissa, do you have something?
No, just go ahead.
Yeah, as Melissa just mentioned, we have arranged with Cromer School to do a pre-site visit next Tuesday afternoon. so that we can get an idea of just what the space looks like, what capabilities they have there with respect to screens or public address systems or seating, how much space we have to work with, those kinds of things. All of the members of the committee are invited to participate in this event so that we're all on board and get an idea of what we're going to be dealing with the day of the actual open house. So I think, do we have a time yet? I know it's on Tuesday.
So that's the 14th, Tuesday, the 14th. And it will be at 1:30 to meet with the principal there.
1:30 in the afternoon. Uh-oh, I'm going back to the principal's office.
Yep.
So hopefully members of the committee will be able to meet us there and get an idea of what the space looks like and how we're going to be able to best use that for what's on our next slide, which is kind of a general, I thought it was I'm one slide off here, but this is fine. This is talking about what we hope to be able to accomplish there and what our roles as members of the committee will be. Can we go to the overall schedule slide there first so that we kind of get an idea?
So this was the agenda. Is that what you're asking?
Well, oh yeah, it's just hard to read this.
Is it too small still?
So yeah, so from 6 to 6:10, we're going to have an opportunity. Hopefully everybody gets there on time and is already signed in. But of course, this is Flagstaff, so we know some of the people are going to be 10 minutes late, and we're accommodating for that. At 6:10, we're going to have welcomes and introductions, an opportunity for us as members of the committee, other, our county supervisors, those kinds of folks to introduce themselves and make sure our neighbors know who it is that's been working on this plan for them. At about 6:25, we would hope to then shift over to a overview of what an area plan is, where it has been, how we've gotten to this point, and what our objectives are with this open house. Melissa, Melissa as of today is looking at perhaps trying to do that as a pre-recorded video so that we make sure we hit on everything, don't miss anything. And she's looking for volunteers from our committee to help be part of that pre-recorded video, to maybe take a 3 or 4 minute segment and talk about a particular thing. We're still working on how we make that work technologically. And we need to make sure that we're going to have adequate screens and projectors and sound systems to make that work in the facility. But that's kind of what we're looking at big picture for that 6:25 to 6:45 time block. And then following that will be an opportunity for everyone to review and comment on our draft policies, goals, the entire plan. So that'll be 6:45 to close. We have to be out by 9 p.m. So close is probably going to be somewhere between 8:30 and 8:45 in order to give us a chance to get everything packed up and cleaned up and out of there, so I don't end up back at the principal's office. And that's the big picture here. So thoughts about what we're planning for our, well, let's go on to, Melissa, we have the methods that we're using for commenting here. So this will be, so we're going to break out into individual committees. We're going to have large signboards with that are set up with different committee names around the room. We're going to have the actual chapters there available to read. We're going to have them available electronically and in paper after. So if anybody wants to make additional, do additional research on things, that'll be available there. And we're going to be taking and facilitating the comments during that period. The comments that we're going to be taking, we are hoping are going to be primarily via the online Conveo site that we've got set up, because that helps us avoid trying to read handwriting and some of the other challenges that we may face. Plus, it gives people the opportunity to make comments, not just real time there during the open house, but for some period of time after that, as they may continue to review or consider what they have seen during the open house. So that's our big picture here on how the open house looks at this point. And
this is Liz.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably we'll get this when we go or when Melissa and I get back together, but since I've been gone, I haven't really talked to her much, so I said I'd bring my concerns up at this meeting. Since I'm in transportation, a lot of this or a lot of the presentation has to do with display boards. And on these display boards, throughout working in transportation, Melissa, remember we have some problems with labeling. So some of these trails, like the multimodal and the trails, they're on there, they're groovy, they're pretty colors, but they're not labeled. So people can't really know where they are or.
Right, so Liz, if I could just, I did put a request in to have that map revised to add the street names.
Beautiful, because that really doesn't help us.
Right.
We don't have them.
So you know what, maybe it would help if I switched to a sample display board right now.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay.
Would
Yeah,
that work,
that.
Rob?
Yeah.
To show that. And then I just wanted to mention too, just a few pointers of logistic pointers for the open house. We are requiring masks. That did go on the postcard.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we weren't going to provide any kind of food or water, it just logistically and, you know, with everything going on, that didn't seem to be wise. So just kind of wanted to make sure that everyone is aware. Masks will be required. I will, you know, try to get some extras from facilities for people that don't have them. But let me switch out of this.
But
go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I understand we're not going to, usually at every open house I've ever been, there's always goodies to eat, but I get it. But don't you think we should have some kind of water system? I mean, 3 hours is a long time for, you know, from 6 to 9.
Well,
And
I'm sure
even
there's
at places
drinking
that,
fountains. If we're in the cafeteria, so I'm sure there are public drinking water facilities in the cafeteria.
Well, we can look at that. And
well, she just said there's going to be no water supplied. And I was like, you know, we got to, that's at least water. I mean, at least water. I mean, if they have paper cups or if they, I know, I hate plastic bottles, but some kind of, and I know because I work at the food bank there at Cromer, and their fountains are not set up like they do in the airports or big facilities where you can put your bottle there and water comes out and you can fill your own water. I mean, it's mountain fountains. And so I don't know how cool that is either. But I was thinking, even if it was just like little, I hate this too, paper cups that you could just go to like those big Gatorade things on river trips, you know, those big water containers, and you just press it and you keep your cup underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but so, I think something's got.
Well, we can look into that.
Yeah, that's why we're going Tuesday.
Yeah.
Get a better idea of the facilities and we can talk about that there, Liz.
All right, let me share again. Hold on.
Can we get the chapters in the area plan put up on the website as soon as possible so people can review them?
Yes, we can do that.
That's a good point, Bernice, and I agree completely. We need,
Yeah.
what we're going to be presenting there needs to be available on the website as soon as possible so that those folks that do their homework in advance, I'm not one.
I'm not one. I don't.
Opportunity to do that. So this
Okay,
is an
so this is
example of
an
a signboard.
example. Sorry, and it's small because the actual size of it is huge. This is, you know, large scale, like 4 foot by 3 foot size printed. So for example, I'll just, and this would be the vision statement. Okay, these are, and do you want me to, I can zoom in some more just to kind of.
No, we get the idea.
Okay, so this is what it would look. This is the actual vision statement that you've come up with, printed out on, you know, a large poster board. And then, so, you know, we'll have a room for comments, and we'll provide, you know, the old fashioned sticky notepads for people that want to write notes right then and there. And then ideally we'll have people that have, you know, want to go home and look at this again, can go onto the website and make comments on the Conveyor website. But there will be an opportunity here. And that's one thing that we'll need committee members to do, is to make sure, you know, you're there to help facilitate people making their comments. So that will be really helpful. I mean, we'll have other staff member there, but we'll obviously need some additional.
So Melissa, if we have sticky notes available, that means we also have to have writing implements available.
Right, we'll have that.
And the current system seems to be, we have clean and dirty writing instruments in public facilities. Are we really going to be going to all that?
Well, I had not really crossed cross that item off yet. What does everybody think?
Melissa, would it be possible to have at each station some hand wipes that are, alcohol and so forth? And as people put their dirty pen into the dirty pen jar, then somebody with gloves simply wipes down the pen, lets it sit for a couple of minutes, and then we reuse it. Is that acceptable?
Well, that same, if we have a lot of people, that may take a lot of, I don't know how effective that would be for people to keep track of that. Maybe another option would be to see if we can get enough pens. If people didn't bring pens with them, we could supply a pen. They would just hang on to their own pen during the meeting.
That's a good idea.
Melissa, what I've seen at other functions is they've given out to everybody when they would get their packet is a little pencil like what you would have on a golf course. And they would keep that with them, and they could write comments on the paper with their pencil, and they just keep it with them as they go, and they take it with them when they leave.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We were going to try to minimize the paper to some extent and have some copies of the packet, the goals and policies packet. There was a good idea that during sign-in, if people wanted a paper copy, they could check that off and request one then, but not to give that to everybody. Not everybody's going to want paper. So yeah, that's a good idea. We'll have then pencils or pens available for people that didn't bring their own.
Melissa, I'm guessing there's not adequate resources to be able to put a tablet or a laptop computer at each chapter.
No,
So
we
folks-
don't have one.
That's too bad. Okay. So that's something else we'll look at.
Can I just
Can you
jump
go
in
to the
real
second
quick?
slide here?
Rob?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just wanted to suggest, if you're hosting this at Cromer School, talk to Cromer. They might have some iPads that you could use for those kind of services. When I was at Killup, that's what we did, is we would borrow a iPad cart from one classroom and assign it to the event, and then have several available for doing surveys. So you might want to see if that's a possibility over at Cromer.
Because that way they could go right to the Conveo site and enter everything electronically.
Yeah, and we used to have it so that there was a QR code. So all they had to do was come, get the iPad, scan the QR code, and went straight to the
Perfect.
survey or the site that they wanted to go to.
Perfect. I like that a lot. So we'll check on that Tuesday when we're at Cromer.
Great.
Perfect.
And with that said, I need to go to my next meeting. So I heard you talking about that, and I wanted to throw that in there before I left. So
Thank you.
thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. Good night.
Good night.
So this is the vision statement, and then Melissa, the next slide would go into the specific goals and policies. Is that right?
Right. These are just drafts now. I was having issues with this publisher site, so it was giving me a little bit of fits. But the idea here would be, for instance, this is the community character, culture and history section. Let me just turn that off. So the goals, the policies, and then where it's relevant, display the survey results with each board. And remember, some of these sections have a lot of text to them. So there, likely there may be multiple display boards for each chapter, if you will.
There's gonna be a lot of display boards for some of these chapters.
So this is large font right here. This can be smaller and still be very visible. So it's, like I said, these are not proper, these are not formatted. Yeah, we'll try to minimize the display boards as much as possible, but there were, there are, I think, 9 different chapters.
Okay. I would like to ask members of the committee, I would hope the focus is on the work that we've accomplished to this point. And while I recognize putting some of the survey data in there may be a good kind of background thing, I think that's going to take up more real estate and whatever then is, I'm not sure the value is going to be returned on that real estate space. It's more important to see the text of what we've worked on than.
But isn't it good to have the survey there if it really reflects if our policies reflect the survey. So isn't that kind of good there to refer back if people have questions like, I don't know, transportation or a trail thing? Well, let's look at the survey. I don't know, because we say that
Yeah, I would hope that's a given, that our
I
plan
hope so
does
too.
reflect the results of the survey. And that
I hope so too.
So having a printed copy of the survey as one of the committee members there would be a great way. You could tab it with, the specific things. So you could then show people that particular question. I just wonder whether putting it on these boards is worthy of.
Oh, so you're just saying have the survey their results and not on boards.
Yes.
I
So
see.
Rob, are you suggesting then that each of us that are standing at one of these chapters would have a computer that we would show people this is the results of the survey, or we would have a separate board that
We could have just an 8.5 by 11 standard printed size copy of the survey that we could have tabbed in advance with questions that relate to the specific chapter that we're working on, so that if a question came up, we could reference that for them without having to take up the space here on these boards. Because I think some of these chapters, I could see taking 3, 4, 5, 6 boards, and that's going to become logistically, I think, challenging, and it's also going to be
tiring.
Yeah, it's going to become wearying to the general public if they think they're going to stand there and read through 6 or 7 boards worth of text. And while the pretty pictures help break it up, they just make more boards.
If I could just, make a comment here.
Sure.
In the recorded presentation, part of what we would want to do is to make sure we talk about the survey results.
Mhm.
So, people that are there for that part of the open house will hear that. Having these, 1 or 2 graphs on the display boards, and it can be made smaller, so it doesn't take up as much real estate, something like that. Sometimes can tie it together, just having a few key visuals, like you said, Rob, to break it up. This is a lot of reading, no matter how you cut it, whether or not we have the graphics on the board or not. What I found at other open houses, people will often gravitate to the topic that they're interested in. So, it may be that people are more interested in natural environment, open space, or just land use, or just transportation. But it is a lot for everyone to be expected to absorb the entire document in one sitting. But then again, people do have their areas of interest. So it does seem to work out really well that way.
I have an idea. Maybe we could put, or maybe Melissa, you could put survey on the website. So
it's on the website.
It is. It's already there.
Okay, great. Maybe we can draw attention to it as part of this, when we have the documents for the different chapters, and we can put a little note down there drawing people's attention back to the survey if they want more information about the survey.
I think that's a great idea to put footnotes on these boards with that would reference back to the survey question without actually putting the graphic on there, because that way, if they're interested, they can see it. But
there you go.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with what Melissa said as far as a visual kind of breaks the reading. People gravitate to kind of what they're interested in anyway. And since people want to see that we took the survey seriously, I think it's a good thing to have the survey results on there.
Evelyn, I tend to agree with you. I'm sitting here looking at it and I'm going, if it's all writing, then there's going to be conversations, but there's not going to be a whole lot of context. And I think having 1, maybe 2 graphs per board would be helpful in terms of being able to illustrate the desires and of the community, and then the policies as we have drafted them.
Okay.
Exactly.
That works. That's some good input, and I appreciate everybody's inputs on that. Does anyone have any other thoughts they would like to share about the content and design of the boards that will be present at the open house? Remarkably quiet out there. Liz is talking, but she might be muted.
When is it actually going to get published? When will they actually be available?
The information boards here that we're talking
Yeah,
about? I'm guessing not till just a few days before the event.
okay. So if we wanted,
We probably won't have them ready until the event, and then we can put them, put out the online open house at the same time.
so what's the deadline for what goes on it?
For the
Well-
comments,
Oh, just for the board itself.
Well, the board is going to have what the plan says right now on it.
Okay.
I'm not sure. So,
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So it's already the text is already all set. It's just a matter of trying to fit as much as we can on the board itself.
right, the text is what you all have already reviewed. We're just
Right.
taking that and putting it on the boards for the community to look at.
Okay.
So Melissa, this is Liz. So if the maps don't get done, are we just not going to have maps?
Well, we will have maps, and like I said, I put a note in requesting that the multimodal trails transit map get annotated better with street names, as you pointed out. We'll have the, sorry, my dog is protecting my, my house here in the background. We'll have the area plan map. We'll have the circulation map, which is the street map, the collective street map. We'll have the trails map. And, I think that will be it. We'll have those printed out in large scale for people to look at. Well,
Okay, what is the map called? Not the most, I guess it's the multimodal, but it's a new one with everything that Patrick put on, all of them all together. That map is so beautiful. It's just not labeled. It's very beautiful and it's a rainbow of colors. But what is that map called? Because
yeah, that's the multimodal trails and transit map.
okay, so that map that's so beautiful with the new trail that we all love that connects us to Flagstaff and connects us to each other in each neighborhood, that's really important. So just thinking in the future, if it doesn't get done, then I'm willing to go in there and label it because it's just not, it's not a map that's useful if it doesn't have names.
I
good
can
news
call it
is,
up right
Liz-
now, but I think there's time. It will
think
get,
so?
it'll get annotated. I'm
Okay,
pretty confident in that.
okay, because that map is so good if it just has names on it.
Yeah.
And Liz, the good news is that we'll have the local expert that can help anyone with any questions about it standing right there next to it, right?
Right.
And that expert is Liz Baldwin.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why I'll label that map. But some of those places, I even question it and I got to be prepared to label it. That's what I'm saying. So I might just do my own map.
And remember, one thing to remember, don't be afraid to draw on the maps or on the boards, right? I mean, they are working documents. They are here for that purpose. So, as long as we want people to try and keep their notes legible, but if people are taking sticky notes and they're making sticky notes, we want to make sure that they stay on the boards. We'll have tape. But the key is, as committee members, ask people to write clearly so we really know what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. And are we going to do little suggestions like say, state your concerns or your projects you want to see investigated or words that are unclear, or do we just going to leave it open and let them just, I don't know. Sometimes I think people need encouraging because these open houses are overwhelming. I mean, there's so much information. I guess we just,
I don't think we should be driving the conversation. I think.
Right. Yeah, we should be driving. Okay. Not even just putting it down, like write down your concern. Yeah, because we're going to be standing there. Yeah.
We need to be listening to them, not driving the discussion, I think is
okay.
The best use of our time there. I want to hear what they think about our work.
Since some maps
Rob,
maps have to be updated, can we add the trail along the railroad?
Oh, there it is. See how beautiful that map is, and see it's so confusing what the hell it is.
Well, that's why we're going to have the street names added, as many as we can without obscuring everything else.
And we've addressed that now, right? It's going to be updated and it's going to be there.
Right.
And Liz will be there to help everybody understand it.
Is there time to add that trail down the railroad tracks? Because that was an excellent idea.
Well, so this map really incorporated a lot of existing project. Well, that's what it does. It incorporates existing project trails identified by the Forest Service in that Mount Eldon Dry Lakes project, the Flagstaff Trails Initiative, the Urban Trail System. These
Where-
other project ideas are separate that the committee has kind of gathered. So those are more text level right now. I mean, maybe later on we can add those if this map does become part of the plan, then that could be another layer in the legend. But if you have to look carefully at the legend to understand where these are, the origins of all of these line segments, if that makes
Okay,
sense.
Melissa, this again. You said if this map becomes in the plan?
Well, I mean, it's still a draft.
Oh,
Hopefully
yeah, you're right. Okay, and even the forest one that connects us to the Futz
Yeah, it's
Trail.
still a draft. I mean,
Get the money,
hopefully,
yeah, okay.
hopefully everybody likes it, and the information here is accepted by the community. But that's the whole point of the open house. These are drafts still.
Okay,
Rob,
yes, sir.
this is Brian Bates. I want to go back and reiterate a point that you made, and that is that our job is to listen. Our job is not to direct the conversation, but we're there to hear what our community members have to say.
Thank you, Brian.
A unique opportunity for us to do that, and we need to leverage that to the best of our advantage. So agree completely. Melissa, if we could go back to the PowerPoint, I believe now.
I'm going right there.
Perfect.
It looks like it went all the way to the beginning.
Melissa, quick question, as far as the, what it's gonna look like, the bike riders and the horses, is that something that we're putting out for the people to choose which one they like?
Well, that wasn't something that we thought about doing. I mean, those are images that the committee seem to enjoy and appreciate. So,
So we get to make a choice.
I'm going to leave that up to the committee, but it seems like, if we leave it, I mean, that is part of what represents the area plan,
Okay,
as you can see in this image here.
okay,
So that's really up to the committee if you want the community to make a decision, or if, you feel on behalf of the community. I mean, that's a graphic that is pretty straightforward, it looks like, but I'm
Okay.
going to leave it up to you guys.
all right.
Okay, so we've kind of talked about the schedule, our preliminary visit. We've talked about the big picture of how we're going to lay it out, and the events during that evening, and how we're going to collect comments. As I mentioned before, I think whenever possible, we should try to direct folks through via the Conveo app, because that'll make it much easier for us later on when we're trying to categorize comments and we're trying to share them amongst ourselves. Melissa, will there be links actually on those boards to the Conveo site with QR codes or whatever?
I have not crossed that bridge. I don't know.
I can create QR codes for you if you need them. I'm happy to do that, but I think that's a really important thing to do. 70% of everybody is using mobile devices now for their daily, interactivity with the world. And those devices can link really quickly with a QR code directly to our Conveo site. The easier we make that, the more comments we'll get and the better we'll be informed.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have a lot of hard copies there available for people that, there are so many people out here that are retired that don't even have smartphones, and they have been here for a lot of years, and they're going to need a hard copy.
Melissa had mentioned earlier that the plan right now, in an effort to try to conserve resources, was not to print a whole bunch of copies of all kinds of stuff that we have no idea how many of or what they might or might not be used for, but instead to ask people that evening to concentrate on the actual boards that present all that information. And then if they would like a hard copy, be able to check a block next to their name on the sign-in sheet so that we can get them one.
Great.
All right. So that is our big picture here of our virtual open house. And I think it wraps up that particular section of our discussion for this evening, unless anyone else has any thoughts about what they'd like to share on this topic.
One last thing. This is Liz.
Yes, they'll be
We're
later.
having one open house, but we may have two. And what's going to determine having two? The same thing again, another date, or if we get what's going to determine two open houses?
Melissa, my understanding from the beginning has been that there would be more than one.
That's
And,
right.
Right. So I just wanted to bring that up because just wanted to.
Can you help us with that?
That's right. So after this open house, then, and that we'll talk about that a little bit later on when we look at the next meeting, but at the October meeting, the goal would be to review the results of the open house and look at what the committee feels needs to be revised in terms of, based on the comments in terms of the goals and policies. And then from there, we would want to, at that point, go back and if there needs to be more work done to revise goals and policies, and then to have a second open house to present the changes. Does that make sense?
So if someone adds an idea or says they don't like something, or they don't like a policy, or they don't like land use, or they don't like number 6 in land use, then we would meet and review why they don't like it. I mean, when you said, well, we're going to review, we'll meet again and review if we need to make some changes. How many comments do we have to get to change a policy that we've already agreed on?
I don't think there's a magic number for that, Liz. I think what
Okay.
the plan is after we have collected all the comments, we will then go back through the document with the comments linked to the individual sections that we're reviewing, read
Okay.
those comments or review them in advance, and decide whether the comments as they were provided warrant changes to the document as it's currently written or not as a committee.
Okay. Because that's what I mean. If somebody says something and we don't get anything but one comment on this one item, do we take the time to readdress it, or do we have to have at least two to do that vote?
A single comment could be justification for us to make a change. And 10 comments may not be. It's going to be up to us to determine based on the content of those comments and what we think the community wants.
This is Brian. I totally agree with Rob.
Okay.
And
I was just asking a question. Is there a magic number? Okay. So it doesn't matter. We'll just bring it up for discussion. Okay.
And I think another question we need to ask ourselves as a committee here is, it appears that we have the opportunity to have two open houses.
Right.
And the way Melissa just laid this out is that we would have one, receive comments, mark things up, and then have a second open house to preview what we would believe would be our final draft, perhaps with some additional minor changes from comments received at that open house. Another alternative that just popped into my mind would be having one open house and expecting everyone that we would hope in our neighborhood would be able to attend that one particular time is pretty limiting. People are busy, they've got lots on their schedules, and I wonder if we would be better served having two open houses and then taking all of those comments, incorporating those, and then saying, all right, we're done, and forwarding our work on to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Rob, I will just make a comment. We really only have budget to do one mass mailer like we did. So I don't know if that would be a consideration.
Well, I assumed that if we were going to have two open houses, it would be equally well supported for both. That's not.
Yeah, I will have to talk about that, but there is a limitation there in terms of, just the reality of the cost of doing that type of mailer. So,
Melissa, this is Brian. I totally understand your comment. My suggestion is, number one, we bring this up at our next meeting and really kind of drill into it. And number two is to look at perhaps sending out email invitations with the draft, the final draft, and saying you have X amount of time to offer your concerns or edits.
Oh, we can definitely do that. I mean, we've built a large email list and, you know, that goes out to over 300 people every time one of your agendas is posted, and we can absolutely, and that would be, you know, another benefit of the open house is to continue to build on that email list. So.
Right.
And
Thank
Brian,
you.
I like your idea of, once we've completed this first one, we'll have a better understanding of how much input did we receive, how well does it represent the community, and what is our best next step.
Right.
And it might even be worth asking the people at the first open house or at the open house, if they feel a second open house is necessary, if once they see the draft, they're, you know, pretty happy with it. And then with suggestions that are put in, maybe the people don't feel there is a need for a second open house.
Okay.
Evelyn, that's a good idea. There's a thing called an exit poll, and it's like 3 questions. And that could be one of the 3 questions.
And you can't leave till you answer them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Would it be possible to have another open house date to let people know that attend this one?
I don't think we're at that point.
I can't see how we could project that at this point without,
Well, at this point, but maybe on September 28th, we might be able to project it.
I don't think so.
You know,
I would want to see the results of this effort first.
Okay.
Before we made any decisions about what the next best step is.
What about a virtual open house?
Again, I would want to see the results of this before we
Yeah.
evaluated what the next steps would be.
I agree, Rob.
Any other thoughts about our open house plan, other than we're all so excited to finally get to this point and have this? Or at least I am.
Yes, we are excited.
Here, look what I like.
Hey, look at that, thumbs up. All right. Okay,
I'm
Melissa?
excited as well.
Excellent. And rounds of applause. Excellent. Oh, look at all this fun stuff. All right. Melissa, if we can move on then, I guess, to the next slide, please.
Oops. Oh, you know what? I went ahead and I touched the link. Did that website come up?
No.
Okay. Would you like to see the bare bones outline of the virtual open house?
The virtual open house, no.
No, you wouldn't like to, okay.
I'm not familiar with what we're even talking about there.
That's the Conveo site.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we should see the Conveo site, I believe. Please.
Okay. Hold on.
And I will say this for Melissa, this is the bare bones draft, not ready for approval version. We're still working on this.
So this is the site, and you can see, did that display, did the website display?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, you know, again, these are this is the vision statement is up here so far. And then there would be a link here to the issues, goals, and policies, and an opportunity for comment.
And how, so I'm on one of those vision statements and I don't like the way natural is spelled. How do I make a comment about that?
Well, I can't show that to you right now, but there will be either a link to a bigger document where everything is combined into one document, or a comment button right here. So this is the open house format, and then, you know, once the actual text of the document comes up, it's a very simple bubble where you comment and you can actually highlight a word or something and make a comment about that.
Okay, so it'll be tied directly to the area that they're trying to comment about.
It's very specific. Mhm.
Excellent. Okay.
What size font is that printed in? Is there a capability of enlarging the font so you can read it more easily?
Well, it's pretty large on my screen.
That's an HTML, and you can adjust that font size using the magnification on your browser.
So, yeah, it's,
You can't hear because it's being projected, but in reality, when this is a live website, the zoom factor that you have set into your browser settings will magnify that.
I mean, I can just even use my trackpad and make it bigger.
Yeah.
What
Like that.
size font is it originally in? That's right there.
Bernice, I don't remember. You know, it's a regular document. It's intended to display on a computer.
Standard 16:9 display.
Mhm.
Well, I know our area plan documents we got for our drafts are very hard to read.
Well, that's because, oh, even when you print them,
Mhm. They're so small,
The Word documents or the PDFs, which,
the PDFs.
um,
You can enlarge a Word document yourself, but the PDF you can't.
well, this will be, you know, because it's going to be on the internet or on the, yeah, it'll be on a screen. People can enlarge the document to their, you know, to their needs.
I like it.
okay. Any questions or thoughts on the draft still to be improved Conveo website for collecting comments? Okay. Excellent start on that, Melissa. We look forward to seeing the final product up here soon, and hopefully lots of our neighbors will participate in good input on that. Keeps going back to your first page.
Yeah, I know. So
Yep.
I'm not sure where you want to start now.
Next one.
Oops. Okay.
There we go. Okay, our next agenda item here was title review of land use and policy comments from Bernice Carver. And Bernice spent a lot of time and effort was put into creating some edits on a document, proposed document. I think that was as a result of a previous meeting where we requested a more detailed written proposed change to that draft that we've been working on. And I believe all the members of the committee have received that. Has anyone on the committee not received it? If so, could you let me know? Okay. Brian and I spent a lot of time looking at this document, reviewing the content of it, and evaluated the implications of how to address those concerns that I've identified in this document, Bernice, between now and the open house that we're planning, in a couple of weeks here, and basically determined there's no way in the time that we have between now and the open house to try to address those comments. So the bad news is we're not going to be able to do that before the open house. The good news is your comments are the very first that will be considered following the open house at our next scheduled meeting. They will be part of that entire group of comments that will inform our decisions moving forward as we make modifications to this particular document. And I just received a request that we take a quick break here. I haven't even been paying attention to the time. It's 6:21. How about we take a 9-minute break till 6:30 to give everyone a chance to stretch just a little bit, and we'll come back and pick up where we left off here.
Yes.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Sure.
Yep. We'll see you in 9 minutes. Yeah, perfect timing, Dave. We both sat down at the exact same moment.
Yep. Not only that, but I had time to start another pot of coffee.
That's impressive.
I have a concern.
Well, if you do, I would ask that we wait until we have everyone back to share
Okay.
that.
All right.
Thank you.
It's about what we talked about in the email.
Ah, okay.
I don't want that to show up in the meeting, in the thing that we're doing.
Okay.
The open house. I don't want that to become a ruckus in the open house.
Then we will, I will pick back up with where we left off and go to you for comments on that.
All right. A little more light on the situation here.
Yeah, I kind of lost track of the time there. I usually am pretty careful about trying to take a break every hour or so because people's attention spans tend to diminish as we get to a certain point. But it was a good suggestion that we take a quick time out here, I think.
Well, you know what they say, time flies when you're having fun.
It did. That first hour and a half went by quickly.
It did go fast.
This is Brian. Bernice, are you still on?
Looks like she may not be back yet, Brian.
Okay.
Hey, Rob, just wanted to say one thing to you. Thank you for keeping things on track. That's what's made that first hour and a half go by rather quickly.
My pleasure. I think we make a great team of folks here.
I agree.
It works. Thank you.
I agree. You guys are great.
For those folks that don't know it, Melissa's the one that's really in charge anyway. So
No, I just add to my to-do list from every meeting. Thank you.
No, I really think that Rob's comment to you, Melissa, was spot on.
I agree. Melissa is the one that keeps us on track, and Rob and I just try to keep the train on the treadmill.
You
we're
guys are
shoveling the
driving.
coal. She's making the tracks. Yeah.
Hey,
Well, you guys, definitely kind of forced me to eat a lot of chocolate.
Is that a bad thing?
No, it's not a bad thing. It's just, it's a good excuse, I think.
All right, so we're a minute past our deadline here. I see Dave.
Okay,
Jim's
you're
here,
eating,
Brian's
you're
back.
eating chocolate. Melissa, you're eating chocolate. I'm eating graham crackers. Who has the marshmallows?
Right. Could all the committee members that are back please go ahead and turn your video on just for a second so we know you're here and make sure we've got a quorum before we get started again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brian is here. That's 6.
I'm trying to find my video. I'm here though.
You're on.
You're on.
Oh, well, actually, 6 is our number now.
Who's
So
missing? Bernice is not back yet.
4, 5, 6. We have 6.
Bernice and
Brian?
Sailor.
Yeah, so Evelyn the sailor and Bernice.
I had to go do my neighbor's house.
Oh,
That was quick.
yeah.
Yes, I ran.
Bernice, are you back yet? We want to make sure you're here for this conversation. Let's give her another minute or two. Oh, there she is. Excellent. Okay, so on this particular, we're going to call a meeting back to order here, and I'll pick up where we left off on this particular agenda item, which there was a lot of work put into that document. We appreciate all the information that's included there, and it will give us plenty to work on after the open house when we start going through all the comments and see how those play into the rest of them. Dave, I think you had something you wanted to share relative to that also. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm concerned about the fact that we have such a discrepancy and such very standoffish sides on shall versus will versus should. I think it's inappropriate. It violates the level of authority defined by legal statute. And it's not, in short, the committee has no authority to supersede the authority of Coconino County. That's why the word should was adopted by the committee. Personally, I would really hate to see someone from the outside, not part of the committee, at this open house, start an argument about that and have it turn into something that's not something ugly. So I think that whether or not we agree, I think that, for the purpose of the open house and so on, we really should consider, standing on one place, not two separate sides.
Thank you, Dave. I think we can agree that discussion has been had, the direction has been given, and our committee has decided that we're going to follow the direction we've received with respect to how we format our document and send it up the chain of command here. So any other thoughts related?
Just a minute. There was one thing that I had planned to say and I didn't. I think there's a way that we could work around this a bit by identifying those places where there's very strong feelings in the community and flag those and put something and then put something in the preface or whatever that indicates that when you see this flag, make sure that you're doing a very due diligence on what your decision is.
Good point, Dave. I think we have talked about that before, where there's some way to identify those things that most strongly were reflected in that survey, so that in the future, anyone that was using this document as it's intended would have one additional kind of clue there, how important that was. Do we have any other thoughts on this particular agenda item from committee members?
This is Brian. Dave, I want to support what you've just said. In fact, I've had the same thought. And that is that we are an advisory committee to the Planning and Zoning and to the Board of Supervisors. And thus we need to follow the protocol of the county as the county has designated. And so I will ask again that in terms of our public meeting, I think we have a real opportunity to connect and get good information from our community members. We do need to be united in saying at this point, we are following the county standards, and thus we are using the term should. Thank you.
This is Bernice. The 2001 area plan used the word shall many times. Other area plans use the word shall. The county standards for the previous area plan used the word shall. That's what I was going by. And I understand that the county wants us to use the word should to make it more flexible. Now, I don't think that it is protecting this community enough to be flexible.
Bernice, I don't believe the reason is flexibility. The reason is it's consistent with the authority that this document contains. And it has nothing to do with flexibility or lack of.
Well,
Yeah.
in the memo we got from the county telling us to use this word, the word should, included to help make it more flexible. The word flexible was in there
Okay.
on the memo.
If you want a little clarification on that, the flexibility that Jay referred to in that memo is very simply because of the wording in ARS 11-804 that creates the comprehensive plan, and this as an amendment to it as a guiding document.
I did read that, and it didn't mention, I didn't read anywhere where it mentioned which words to use.
That, well, here's the thing. At this point, the point is moot. It has been taken care of. We are going to go forward using the word should as opposed to shall or must. And I can tell you that should that something like that come before the Planning and Zoning Commission, I would have taken the same kind of action that was taken by the Board of Supervisors. We would have been in executive session as a result of a motion and support by the rest of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We do not have to do that now. It has been sorted out, and I think we're done with it. Going any further with it is tantamount to beating a dead horse, in my opinion.
Rob and Bernice, if I just point out, if you take a look at the Belmont area plan, which is the most recent area plan document, in that document, the word should was used consistently throughout. So that is the most recently approved area plan. And that directive from the board came right before that.
Okay. Just perhaps so we can put this behind us. And because a couple of members have talked about how important it is at our open house that we focus on those things that we can change and improve on, I would like to propose that we just do a quick vote here, that all of us that are in favor of using the word should as directed by Director Crystalman and our county supervisors, I'd like to make a motion that that is our committee's plan, and moving forward, that is what we will use, so that we can hopefully put an end to any more discussion on this particular topic.
Rob, just one thing I would like to mention, that both you and Brian are also required to vote in the process of doing this, and I will second your motion.
Okay, I am happy to do that. So I have made a motion. I've had it seconded. Does anybody have any discussion relative to that motion? Okay. Committee members, if I could, I would like to ask you to say aye if you are in favor of the motion as presented.
Rob, do a roll call vote as to
Yes.
all of the committee members so that it is documented who is in favor and who is not.
Happy to do
Jim
that.
is
Thank you.
absolutely right.
Thank you for that. So we'll do a roll call vote on the motion as I proposed and seconded by Mr. Ruggles about using the word should. I will call off the folks as I see them in my browser, so we have some sort of order here. We'd like you to vote either aye or nay. So
Can I add something to the discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just really concerned that the problems that they're having in Belmont right now are because of the lack of enforceability of their area plan, and that they use should instead of shall, or a stronger word, which could have been must.
Okay.
Bernice, thanks for saying that, because I was going to ask you before my vote, what is your main objective? And you think it's because it's not powerful wording enough to take stand That's it? Because I know you keep on bringing it up, and I've been toying with it too, but once we got that thing from the county and then our director, and I just was thinking, even if we wanted to change it, we don't have that authority to change it if they say we can't.
Well, we
And
did on the other plan. Other plans have done it.
right, and you pointed that out a couple of, I think even today you did. And so you just think it's more a powerful term to make our documents stand stronger.
Correct.
That's the reason why you want it changed.
Correct.
Okay.
Rob, could I just make a comment?
Yeah, okay.
I don't have to.
I'm ready to go through a roll call vote,
Okay.
unless anyone has any other questions on the committee.
Can't Melissa say what she wants to say? Maybe it's going to clear it up for Bernice.
Okay, sure.
I just wanted to put out a clarification about Belmont, and the issues going on in Belmont, mainly with the traffic, are something that the area plan could not address. And if somebody wanted to get into a lot of other details, we could talk offline about that. But just to make a clarification for everyone on the meeting, those traffic issues are something that were happening before the area plan update got started. And there is a lot of information out there about how those are being worked on. So I just wanted to mention that.
I was concerned about the 84 units that are being put on 11 acres.
Well, Bernice, it's a very different area plan, and that
And
zoning
I'd
was
like to
already in
suggest
place.
that we're getting off topic here.
Exactly.
Rob, this is Brian Bates. I have one comment.
Mhm.
I've looked in the dictionary, and the word should is the past tense of shall. So the two words essentially mean the same thing. Should and shall mean the same thing. Thank you.
Interesting point. Thank you.
And if that's true, then what is the big? Why can't we put shall in there if they are the same words but past tense? That's what boggles me. I just don't get it. But I just feel like we have to vote on it, Bernice, because
We've invested.
we can't change it. I mean, it's above our head. We can't do that. We don't have that authority to use that word. But now we're saying it's equivalent words. It's just
I think as a planning committee that we could use the word. We've got freedom of speech, don't we? Like everybody else. I feel like using the strongest words that we could is going to protect our community. If we had weaker words in our 2001 area plan, we'd have a lot more development out here.
It is very simply a matter of following what state statute tells us that the comprehensive plan and this amendment to it is.
It's in other plans.
Other plans, those go back 20 years.
Prior to the
All of this
statute
was
or
taken up when the comprehensive plan was rewritten, and I served on that committee during that rewrite back in 2014 and 2015. And if you look at other comprehensive plans and area plans and their equivalents throughout the state, you will find that as those were updated, they have done the same thing that we are going to have to do via direction from the Board of Supervisors. And even if the Board of Supervisors didn't direct us there, it would have been addressed at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the result, I think, would have been exactly what we are dealing with right now, and that is using should.
I wonder why it's so important to them to do that, other than flexibility and going forward with future projects.
It's a matter of statute, and I would suggest that if you want to change that, that it would be best to take it up with the state legislature.
I agree.
Can we see the statute that that identifies that?
Hey, Bernice, we could spend all evening having this conversation, and my point of trying to have this vote was to try to use our time as effectively as possible. I would like to find out from our committee where we stand, and the only way to do that is to have this vote.
Plus, Bernice, you said you read it.
I read that.
I mean, let's just move on with the vote. Come on, we really need to.
Title 11, 804. I could not find anything in there requiring certain wording. I would like to see the statute that says you have to use the word should.
I'd like to see a vote.
Yes, I agree with Evelyn.
I do also.
Okay, unless there's any further discussion on this particular topic, I would like to take a vote on the motion of us adopting the word should as our official word for use as opposed to shall or must. I'm going to do a roll call vote. And I will start with Mr. Browning,
Aye.
Mr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Ms. Carver,
Nay.
Ms. Baldwin, Liz,
You're muted.
Yeah, I know I'm muted. I don't,
Abstain.
abstain. Yeah, I'm just going to abstain.
okay. Mr. Clifford,
Aye.
Mr. Bates,
Aye.
Evelyn,
Aye.
Saylor,
Aye.
and I believe that's everyone on the committee. The ayes have it. I would
You
like to.
you didn't vote.
Rob,
Rob.
Rob, you need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I vote aye. Excuse me. Thank you.
Yes, earlier.
I didn't keep an actual number, but the majority voted in favor of that motion. And I would, at this point, like to table this discussion for the rest of this committee's efforts.
That's 7 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstain for the record.
Thank you very much, Jessica. You're awesome. We're going to move on to the next agenda item. Which is our goals and policy reviews. And I asked Melissa to kind of restructure this just a little bit and add that implementation of our priorities down at the bottom, since it was in the middle and made it look like we were skipping something. We have made incredible progress on a lot of stuff during a challenging period of time in this world. So I think there's lots to be proud of here. We've got check marks in all of these important things that allow us to get to the open house point. The implementation of our priorities is a discussion that we're going to have once we're further along with our final draft. And that will come obviously following our open house and review of comments from that. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts to share about the goals and policy review?
I do. This is Melissa.
Mhm.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. This represents a ton of work. And as a committee, you know, you guys have put in so much effort to this. It hasn't always been easy. It may not be easy going forward, but I just want to recognize that, you know, as staff, we really appreciate all of your dedication. And this would not, you know, this is your plan. And this is something that I'm very proud of all of you. And I hope that you all feel, you know, ownership and pride in what's come of it. We're not going to make everything perfect and everyone is not going to be happy, but I think overall this represents a lot of really a remarkable accomplishment. So thank you.
I would like to say that to Melissa, that you keeping up with what we've been doing and being able to being ready to present it and walk us through it step by step, that is enormous value to this committee.
And an invaluable contribution to the effort.
You guys make it worthwhile. Thank you.
I want to comment that I agree with everything that Dave said. Thank you, Melissa.
Any other comments on our goals and policy review schedule? Moving on to our next slide. Our next meeting, let's see, well, oh, planning process and schedule, okay. So, help survey and host public open houses. So we've got that open house scheduled for the 28th. Everybody's excited for that. Our draft plan is going to be the result of that. And as will discussions about where we go from there, whether we need additional public input or whether we're satisfied we have heard from our community and are prepared to move on with forwarding our work to the next stage of this process, which could happen late this year or probably early next with the Planning and Zoning Commission and then ultimately the Board of Supervisors. both opportunities for more public comment and involvement. And any comments on this particular slide or topic?
Yeah, a little bit. It has to do with the open house. I would like to see something that has, what is an open plan? What is an area plan? I know that that's somewhere that something very simple that they can read and say, oh, that's what it is. Okay, it's
Dave, our plan is that that's part of what the goal of that pre-recorded video was intended to accomplish. It was to define, what this is, how we got here, and what we're doing here this evening. That's what our hope is with that pre-recorded video will accomplish.
as long as everybody sees.
Well, yeah, everyone in the room, and then it'll obviously be a video that we can also post on the website.
Right.
So folks that are continuing to the process that weren't able to make the meeting will also be able to view that same thing. Liz?
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Rob, this is Brian Bates.
Yep.
I have a question. We have a number of people that have served on each of the subcommittees, and I'm assuming that those individuals then would be stationed at the different chapters.
Right.
My question is, do we have an outline of who will be at which stations? Because there are some folks that have served on several of the committees.
That's a good point, and I think that's some good homework for I guess ourselves, you and I, Brian and Melissa, and committee members. If you have served on multiple committees, which several of you have, and thank you very much, we would like to hear from you as to which committee or chapter, you would like to be at during that open house, so that we can make sure we've got adequate representation at each location. We know for sure where Harriet and Liz are going to be. The rest is somewhat fluid.
Right.
So-
And I just wanted to make one more suggestion about those of you who could meet at the school on Tuesday. We could almost have a little bit of a dry run then. And if we need to have a follow-up meeting before the open house, just to do a so-called dry run, we can do that. So just make that offer because this is important so people don't get there and not know what they're doing.
Good point. Thank you, Melissa. Okay, let's move on to our next slide then. Our next meeting as a committee will be then on the 14th of October, our next regularly scheduled meeting. And I'm super excited to find out just what kinds of comments we have collected at that point. They will all be compiled and attached to the appropriate sections. I'm hoping that they will also be available to us in advance of that meeting so that we can do some homework and kind of come into that a little bit more aware and prepared on how we move forward at that point. So there will be lots of data to look at and lots of decisions to make at our next October the 14th meeting. Any questions or thoughts about that? Excellent. Let's move on to our next slide. My favorite part of our meetings are our public comment periods, and we are there. So if there are any members of the public that have been waiting here patiently to share thoughts with us as a committee, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and share. Doug.
Hi, this is Doug Meyer. I'm a community member. I just wanted to, we heard soon after my comment at the beginning of this meeting that there was a comment was submitted that state trust and Forest Service lands would not be covered by this area plan if they were to become private and then potentially developed. And I believe some people have stated then later that no, in fact, there is existing zoning, even though those lands are still not in the private realm. There is existing zoning, and so that they would be covered. And I'm trying to understand, I would like someone to educate me. In the case, for example, that you had an AR5 zoning on state trust land, and then the state trust land department decided to get that land over to some developer who had a proposal, what would happen? What would this area plan that we're working on now, would that be come
Would
into
apply.
apply? Right. That's my question.
Let me take a stab at that, Doug. First, I might have alluded to the fact that there was some state trust land that is currently zoned. That's incorrect. None of the state trust land is currently zoned. So if any of that were converted to private ownership, rezoning would be the very first step that would have to apply, and this area plan would definitely apply to that process. Some of the National Forest Service land does currently have zoning, and I believe that's all general. It can.
No, it's different. It's AR 2.5 for the most part. A lot of it is not zoned. And just a point of clarification,
Oh, so the parts that are zoned are AR 2.5.
I believe so. And then if there were, I mean, this is hypothetical, if there was a piece of land that is not zoned, that is then, converted or, sold into
Converted to private.
converted to private, rather the exchange from the Forest Service or with the state land, it would be a sale. And if it's unzoned, it automatically comes into the county zoning as open space. So in other words, any open space zoning has very limited development opportunities or land uses, and if any further land use then would require a rezoning of that to any other type of use.
And the area plan would apply to that rezoning effort.
100% absolutely correct.
Does that help, Doug?
That answers my question. Thank you.
Excellent. Sheila, it looked like maybe you had a question or a thought to share with us. Please do.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. When does the conveyo.com site go live for this area plan?
That would be on the 28th, the same day as the open house.
Okay, so that means the comments close on October 5th?
Yes, I'm from the Conveyo site. We could always extend it, but right now we wanted to have it open for that
Okay,
amount
that's
of
a
time.
very short turnaround time for comments, and then you're going to try to meet on them on October 14th. That concerns me. I'm sorry, there's thunder and lightning, and my dogs are trying to crawl in my lap. So if at the open house, a person requests a paper copy of the area plan, it's not going to be able to get to them for them to make comments by October 5th. That's very concerning.
Sheila, I think our thought was that if they requested a paper version of the plan, that we would make that available for them at the county building so they could come pick that up whenever they wanted.
Okay. Okay.
So it could be the very next morning.
Okay. That was all my comments. Thanks for everybody's work on this.
Thank you, Sheila. I appreciate those comments. Any other members of the public that would like to share some thoughts with us yet this evening?
Yes, this is Russell.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. I want to thank you too for all the work everybody is doing. I know that it's an extremely hard job, especially when you come to land policies and things like that. But, I don't know if I should say this, but I feel I must, so I shall. And I think the abstain vote was a nay. It's kind of obvious to me, but anyway, when I would use those terms, if I was talking to my kids, if I told them, you must do, or you should do this, it wouldn't carry the weight as if I said, you must do it, or I shall. And I'm sure there's a reason that you have been told to use the word should, a legal matter. And exactly what that is, I'm not sure, but you know, there is a reason for it. And the only reason I brought it up is because, you know, I would use terms like that. Like I said, if I was talking to my children, telling them what they should do or must do or shall do, have to do. And, you know, I feel that I don't, oh shit, I kind of forgot what I was going to say here. But anyway, I think that, you know, I would like the survey to be reflected in the goals and policies, and I hope that it will be. And I know that when over 90% of the people voted to not have high density housing or other things too, that they were not taking that should do it. They were pretty firm with a vote of that many people. And that's the only reason I brought it up. I don't want to cause any trouble with that myself, but you know, I think it's pretty obvious. And, you know, I understand that something has to be decided, and it's been decided that the committee will use the word should. And I think that's fine. But sometimes I feel like in the goals and policies or somewhere in there, it should be noted the percentage of people that voted for a particular thing in the survey. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
And Russell, if I could interrupt, I'm sorry for one moment. The survey, our plan is to include that survey data results as an appendix to our plan. So
it'll actually be in the paperwork.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. And that's one step in the right direction. And it almost sounded to me when, you know, Bernice was talking about it at the end here that representatives from the mothership kind of stepped in and said that can't be done. You know?
Can I respond? Could I?
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned using what words you would use with your children. How would you like it if your child said, "You must do this. You must let me go to this, whatever." You know, that's, you know, it's levels of authority, and it's legal levels of authority, and that's why we don't do that. We don't. We cannot. This committee cannot exert authority over the county. Now, I did suggest that we come up with a plan or some way to for things where there were 98% of the people that replied to a survey. There ought to be a place, a way that we can flag that and say, hey, county, when you look at this, make sure you don't shoot yourself in the foot by doing something wrong, something against what they want. We can certainly do that without having to go through all this rigmarole of county, you must do that, or you should, instead of you should do that.
And could I address Russell on this just very briefly?
Yeah, I think we've used most of his time, so please do.
Because a number of other counties in the state do exactly what he is asking for. The survey results are included in their area plans or their comprehensive plan. And from my standpoint as a planning and zoning commissioner, that is an absolute necessity, because that gives us the kind of indication of where the residents of the Donny Park area want to go. And I'll tell you what, when I'm at a hearing, that is something that I bring to everyone else's attention whenever possible, that what the area plan says is what we should be given the greatest credibility to in terms of what the residents want to see. And other commissioners, I think Jim Clifford addressed this the last time. He was getting at the same thing I'm saying right now. We look at it, it's there. The survey results are just overwhelming. They have been overwhelming in other area plans within Coconino County as well. as across the state in rural areas, once we've gotten away from, well, Maricopa County. And even then, those are very important in areas that are highly suburban and urbanized, like Maricopa County.
Well,
right.
yes, that's great. And I think that it's great that they will be included. That way, if sometime down the road here in 5 years or 6 years or something, if those results of the survey would be available to the Board of Supervisors or Planning and Zoning, so that if they're having to make a decision, they will also see exactly what the community wanted at that time.
They are a part of what Planning and Zoning and the Board of Supervisors and staff, such as Melissa and the rest of the planners at the county, look at when they formulate the analysis and recommendations sometimes to Planning and Zoning and to the Board of Supervisors.
And I'm going to have to interrupt here, gentlemen, because we've far exceeded the allocated time limit here. We want to be fair to everyone. Are there other members of the general public that would like to share any thoughts with us here this evening? All right, I'm not seeing or hearing any, so I would like to thank everyone for all of the hard work, attention. It's time to go have some pizza. And I hope you all enjoy your dinners the rest of your evening. And I hope this lightning storm we're all seeing out here in Donny actually deposits the requisite rain that it justifies. So,
Oh my gosh, there's lightning. Yeah, there's lightning in town too. It's pretty dramatic.
yeah, excellent.
Rob?
Yes.
We're going to have comments from the committee members.
Oh, yes, I apologize for that. Could we go around any committee member that would like to share any thoughts this evening before we wrap up, please?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
So this is Brian. I think we need to keep in mind that our community plan, the area plan, is part of a larger context of guidance documents and legal documents that the county operates under. So not only within our plan, there's also the Greater Flagstaff Area Plan. There's other plans that this fits into, but it also fits into the Planning and Zoning. It fits into the Board of Supervisors. And so one of the things that's easy to happen is to lose sight of the context of what it is that we're dealing with. This plan does not sit alone. This plan is nested within layers of other administrative documents. And thus, part of what we've been wrangling with is how to make sure that our plan is consistent with these other plans that I've spoken of. So I would ask the committee and the community to keep in mind that we are actually dealing with a larger context, as well as looking at what it is we want for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Hey, Rob, one quick comment that I would like to make. I think there are some people that feel sometimes that they're not listened to. I participated in a lot of these committees and other commissions and boards. And there's one thing that I've always made it a point to do, and that, but I will say that in evaluating everyone's comments, it does not always mean agreement or acceptance. That's the purpose of the committee, is to sort through that. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, John. Any other committee members that would like to share a thought before we wrap up this evening?
I would. Shock.
Please do.
Okay. I'm really concerned that the people that don't have smartphones and computers and aren't computer savvy, or maybe they aren't literate enough in English to read this document that is at a high level reading level. And I'm concerned that 7 days isn't enough to be able to submit comment. And also, I'm really concerned that we talk a lot about the survey. I'm concerned that the goals sound great with the survey, but the policies don't, or the policies do have provisions, especially LU 2A and B and LU 6 that provides for multi-unit housing. They are not consistent with the survey. So I have two concerns: not enough time to submit your comments, and that we need to go back and work on the policies more.
Bernice, will they promise, this is Lizzie, they did promise that they're going to do that. They're going to take your comments, and that's the first thing, because I was ready to talk about them tonight. I had notes, I read what you said, and I had questions for you, and I had questions for the committee on the LU 6, 12, 13, 10, I believe. But we're going to address them. I mean, Melissa said that, so we are going to do that, when we, after the open house, because they said your comments are going to be shared first. We're going to discuss them first before we get other comments. Isn't that correct, Rob?
That is correct.
Great. I'm still concerned that we're not giving people enough time to even be able to read the policies, much less comment on them. And the people that aren't computer literate or don't have smartphones are going to be out. And to me, that's like voter suppression, not letting people participate. That's my comment.
Bernice, this is Melissa. What would you suggest?
Giving us more time to have people comment.
I would suggest that more time is not going to help anyone that isn't literate in English. It's not going to help people that don't have access to the internet or to the hard copy versions.
It would give them more time to get one in the mail.
There's no intention to mail anything.
We're not going to mail them, honey. We're not going to mail them. They said you can go to Fort Valley and pick them up.
Why couldn't we mail them? That doesn't seem like a big imposition.
Well, it's expensive.
It's media mail. It's cheap.
It's not just the mailing, it's the staff time, the reproduction time, all those other things. We're unfortunately not operating with an unlimited budget, and we have to do things as wisely as we can. Our goal would certainly be to reach the widest possible audience. But the reality is, regardless of what we did, there will be some people that will get missed.
I still don't think it would be unreasonable to allow at least 2 weeks for comments to come in.
Okay, thank you.
I guess we could vote on that too when we're done to see, because it is true, even Trails Initiative and other ones that they allow a little bit more time. People are busy, and to read over it, make some comments, think about your thing. 2 weeks is not too much.
I think the important thing to note here too is that the comment period is 2 weeks. Is 1 week, excuse me. That doesn't mean that you can't be doing homework in advance and reading this information from our website in advance, and then using that week to make your comments. Bernice brought up a good point earlier that all of this information needs to be on our website as soon as possible. And Melissa, I would guess that could happen within the next day or two, reasonably. Couple of business days.
Several business days to we can put the draft goals and policies up. It won't be available for comment, but people can review them.
Right.
The comment
and that's the important
site.
thing is that they have it available to them to read, review, think about it, that kind of stuff. And that 1 week period, Bernice, would only be the period that they have to actually submit those comments. If we're not limiting them to that period of time to, start to finish the whole thing.
People wouldn't know they're up in advance, though. Most people wouldn't, except for the people on this call.
And remember, though, that this is the first open house. There'll be several other opportunities for people to comment, including a formal public hearing notice period.
Bernice brought up a good point there, and I think we could easily, Melissa, the day that those all become available, let's make sure that our email list is notified.
And John Paxton has a rather large, is John still on the call? He's got the Donny Park watch groups, and they also have the Timberline watch and the Fernwood watch. They could send that information out to them. John Paxton has a huge email list. It would need to go out in a PDF though, make
yeah,
sure
I think
everybody that's on it can use it.
Both John and our county supervisors, Arena is still here, so that's great. Arena, once that's available and Melissa lets you know, perhaps you could include, or you could generate a quick, heads up notice kind of a thing. Is that possible for you?
Yeah, I have a list of the people for our communications that we can blast it to.
Excellent.
Great.
The other thing is I'm working on the newsletter that's going to be coming out Monday. So I was planning to include, your guys' breakdown of the comment period in there and stuff like that too. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal.
Are you advertising the open house too, Arena? And can it also get advertised with the other supervisors that are in the area?
Yeah, I will forward what I've put into District 4 also.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, if I could make a comment.
Absolutely.
This is Brian. My experience has been that you get the high number of comments and how shall I say, comments on the plan or any document shortly after an event. And that as you go on in time, the number of comments often drops off. 7 days is short. And I think shooting for the October 14th of our beginning the comment review would be helpful. But I'm not wedded to 7 days. If it were, and this has to come from staff because they're the ones that have to manage this. But I think we're going to get fewer comments as you go on in time.
Yeah. I
Thank
would
you.
agree.
We can leave the Conveo site open as long as needed. There's not a magic cutoff date. It's a matter of, as Brian is suggesting, knowing when the committee needs time to digest everything.
Well, I would suspect that we're going to have more comments than we can deal with within one meeting. And so having it open for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the challenge would be is that if on that third week we receive comments about something that we've already addressed during our next meeting, that causes us to have to go back again and relook at that. So I think maybe we should look, maybe Brian and Melissa and I could look at extending that more than a week and figure out what that best time frame is, but something more than a week.
And remember, it was printed on the postcard, but we can't change that now.
And yeah, still though, everyone else that wanted to could. So,
right.
All right. Any other committee members that would like to share a comment yet before we conclude this evening's meeting?
Yeah, Rob, I have a comment.
Please.
On about this. So if we put it out there for 7 days, which we are proposing to do, and that's what's on the card, even if we do, hang on just a second. Shannon, can you close the windows? It's starting to rain inside. Sorry, the rain is coming in. Our windows they're all open. If comments come in after the 7-day period, more than likely they're going to be comments that people have already made. And those can be brought up to us at our next meeting. After the 7 days, these are the comments that came in afterwards. And these are the comments that we have already worked on. These were duplicate comments.
Yep.
It may have just been phrased a little bit different, but we've already worked on them. So
good point.
I don't think that going past the 7 days can be the cutoff, and then we start working on those. But anything that comes in after that, we see if they're redundant, and if they're the same. If it's something that just pops right out and says, oh, this is completely different, yeah, let's focus on it. Let's look at it.
Yep.
But if they're all the same things that people have already been saying, then I think we're in the ballpark at 7 days.
Thank you, Jim. Good points. Any other committee members that like to share a thought? All right, then. I think that we can all cross our fingers for some good rain from this storm tonight. I wish everyone well and look forward to seeing everyone that can make it next Tuesday at our initial inspection of the open house event or site. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Another good team meeting.
Thanks to all
Night,
the
everyone.
people that are in the public that showed up.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Rob and Brian, do we need to stay on?
Let's have a
Come
quick
on.
wrap up.
Okay, I'll stop the share.